thanks for being proactive in organising this and being flexible about slotting this in. It's really important to us. We've put a lot of work into our prioritisations. We got them into the annual plan, and the big thing is how they're going to be funded. So that's what the discussion is going to be today. What do you want to achieve, Catherine, from this kororo in the next half an hour?
So first off would be, is there anything that you would like to recommend it is funded out of the reserve? And then the projects, I guess, that you still think are worthwhile going ahead, and I've written a paper for your meeting next week, and so hopefully that will capture what you're giving us guidance on today, and that will then go to the councillors for their deliberation session on the 15th of May.
You put together a brief PowerPoint, which we have referenced today. Is there anything there that you would like to highlight, or shall we just weave some of that into our discussions?
We'll come to that later if you want. It was just more to show you how the rating works, the information.
One thing I would say right from the start is that we put a lot of effort into putting the priorities together, and we put a lot of effort in the annual plan. We're not going to suddenly go, oh shit, that was a silly idea. No. Okay. So rest assured that if it's in there, it's important to us, because there's 100 other things that could have been in there. So we'd like to, just give you confidence that we're not suddenly going to be dropping stuff off.
And the other thing I was going to mention as well is that later today you'll get the submissions. All of the councillors will get the submissions on the annual plan. There was 422 submissions. Some of them are repeated, so you'll save you reading too much. You'll be able to read the repeated ones.
Can they be available to the community board as well?
Yeah, to community board as well. Yeah, so it's go to all elected members. So you might want to reflect on that as well before the meeting next week.
Sure. Yeah.
I can tell you that it's really mixed around this particular topic. I was reading them over the weekend. Obviously the cost of living, cost of increases in hardware, and luggage for water supply and water infrastructure is obviously a concern for pretty much everybody who submitted from this area. So just to keep that in context.
Cool. We had a discussion to help align some thinking, and there's probably 2.5 things that are in the annual plan, topics in the annual plan, that we think lend themselves well to the asset sales reserve. We share those with you. So the Roy's Bay jetty, the idea of the replacement and renewal of the existing jetty to maybe align better with Halwick Street. We saw that as a piece of community infrastructure that had commercial benefits, had tourism benefits, certainly had community placemaking benefits there. We were interested, and so we felt that there is a role that the asset reserve could play in that. We were also questioning, because it will be a renewal, what would be sitting existing within council's budgets to offset the replacement of the current jetty and moving across.
On the report that I've drafted. I'll continue on the next one while I find my report.
Alison, you got any questions? We don't want it. That's sort of thematically, that's what we are thinking at the moment. That asset sales review.
Can I ask a question?
Correct.
The renewals budgets for that that will have been funded district wide. I'm just trying to understand how we get to the equity piece around all the jetties that we're contributing to in Tapu. Is there visibility in the background in the financial papers, I guess, over time around how much this community has contributed to renewals for jetties versus different expenditure on either side of the hill? Do we have that?
So as that's rated, the jetty would be rated under general rates, which is 100% district wide.
Yeah.
So it's all jetties within the whole.
Yeah, that's my point, is that we don't have a lot here. I don't think. I mean, I'm new to the area, so I'm wondering how many the district's funding for Wānaka and Hawea, but
the problem is we haven't had a proper renewals program until now, and the renewals program that's funded through the annual plan and long-term plan does have a program of which is partly prioritised based on how soon they are going to fall down rather than how important they are or how useful they are.
Yeah,
So
I get that. It's
the short answer is that there hasn't been a complicated renewals program. We've just nickled and dimed the repairs to the pontoons and things like that.
I'm more interested in what's being taken in terms of rates, like what have one of the Clutha members.
Nothing, because there hasn't been a program. It's been nickled and dimed. It's been spent on district wide on repairing bolts and planks of wood.
Okay.
There hasn't been a pocket of there is no renewals funding that's been put aside.
Well, there is a jetties renewals fund
In the new fund.
It's been in the LTP for a long time, and everybody's paid into it. And my question is, how much is?
Have you found that number? Have you found? Yeah.
Yes, it just says in the paper that there's no current LTP funding for renewal of the jetty. And potentially reallocating an underspend.
It's not money that's been collected, it's money that will be collected.
Any historic?
Yeah, potentially the relocation of an underspend under Ely Point boat ramp could be used to start this work.
As Quentin pointed out, we're talking about money that's already been collected for reinvestment into a new asset or a renewed asset, not how we're going to fund it in the future. Is that what you're saying, Quentin?
Yeah, but there is money set aside for waterways structural renewals.
Yeah.
That is spread across the district, including 147, Ely Point, and even potentially Royce Bay Jetty. But that, it's at the moment it's all future land.
I'm going to move on, but in principle, we see the Asset Sales Reserve Fund being used for the jetty.
So
But that's sitting alongside, we assume that there will be some existing renewals budget in there as well, and so that would offset. Yeah, so maybe just a little bit of thinking or a little bit more research around that.
Let's be honest, it's not going to be very much. If there's 0.9 million for waterway structure renewals, it's going to be like.
I think it's more like 700.
So it says here estimated cost to design the replacement is 800 to 1.2 million capex.
For the new jetty. Okay.
For the design.
Yeah, okay, we'll opinion on design. Okay, so we've got that. In principle, yes.
100%.
Well, no, that's exactly what I didn't say.
Oh.
I didn't say it would be the minus the renewals, minus what renewals could be apportioned. Yeah, so that's what we need to understand what the renewals are. Maybe you could come to the community board meeting with what the renewals that could be allocated to that project would be, the estimated investment required, and then the balance that that sales reserve would pay.
To be fair, I recall in our Wānaka board meeting, when we were talking about renewals, it didn't seem like it was super specified, because when we said we want it for another year, then he said it's going to cost this much. So I wonder, I actually wonder if there's probably.
Okay, let's wait. So let's get it. Okay, yeah, good comment. The second one would be the Performing Arts Centre. We see that as a community facility investment, intergenerational, much needed, sports, arts and culture, etc. So we see that the biggest challenge at the moment, Catherine, as you know, is that project is still in its infancy. The trust has not found the land for it, and we still don't know the operating model and a few other things. So the concept is that we as a community board, in principle, could look at supporting that. There is certainly a lot more discussion to be had around who would benefit from those facilities and everything. But if you're looking high level, but that's not going to change anything at the moment until we actually get slightly more tangible plan. Yeah. The third thing that we have mixed views on is the artificial turf, and there is a school of thought that an artificial turf should be a level of service that's provided by council, and the capital cost should not come out of the sales reserve. There is another school of thought saying if this would speed up that process, that it could be ring fenced and could be part of the asset sales reserve investment. So
I'll leave it open in the paper. and you can decide on the day.
Well, it's a little bit hard to decide on the day because we're not sure exactly where it would be situated because of the legalities around Valentine Road. We've only got have you got a figure in there for TIF?
Indoor sports.
And then the third thing is,
Indicative costs of $3.5 to $4 million.
and then the other side of things is how else we wouldn't be paying for that in its totality, investing in totality. We would be looking for other funders and philanthropists to support that. So
Yeah, so we've got a comment in there about it may attract third-party funding.
yes, okay. So
This is only really the feasibility and kind of getting the starting planning is what we're asking for part of the annual plan, because at the moment it's not a project that we're going to start on.
so you were asking whether the feasibility study would come from the asset sales reserve.
Yeah.
What does the guideline say around feasibility of the
That's what it says, planning, starting planning.
It's part of the CapEx. Big part of CapEx. It doesn't actually specify, but we're looking at it a lot today, and the risk is we waste a lot of money in these projects.
I'm very concerned that the money from the reserve be built into assets and not the feasibility should be coming out of general charges, and then we invest the asset reserves into actually building it. I think that's what the public would want us to do.
Well, I think more than that, the policy actually says that.
well, that it says funds may not be used for feasibility studies unless directly tied to an eligible capital project, which is ridiculous anyway, because there would always be, you wouldn't be doing feasibly unless it was tied to an eligible capital project. And if feasibility said don't do it, then the project disappears. So it's a little
We're
bit.
not using the word feasibility in the report, it's more investigating and concept planning. Wording.
And you're expecting the asset sales reserve to pay for that investigation? And
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't happen until the LTP prioritisation.
I just asked about that because, yeah, you're right. We've got that. Yeah, you're right, because there's no money in there for that. Waterway structure, this looks like there's 867 in this year. Next year's budget for waterway structures and renewals.
Yeah.
Is that tagged?
No, I think that's what he's saying. He's saying there is an existing budget,
Yeah.
and it can be put towards feasibility.
Yeah.
For that duty.
And there's a couple of, like we said, there's a couple of demands on that. We've still got Ely Point sitting there, and we've still got and there's what's the name, Bob's Cove, and yeah, there's 6 or 7 jetties that need major renewals.
okay. I'm just going to wind it back because I'm now getting the sense that we're not talking about the capital funding of these projects, we're talking about the annual plan commitment. So if we went back to the Wānaka Performing Arts Centre feasibility study, staff could be allocated to assist the Arts and Cultural Trust with further feasibility work required ahead of consideration for potential long-term plan funding. So is there going to be a staff cost that would be paid for from the asset reserve?
No, this was more, these are priorities, but we could recommend to council that a staff member is allocated to. Yeah,
And
that's directing staff work.
we're agreeing that that should happen, because in the absence of that, this project can continue to
limp along.
well, limp along a little bit, yeah, because
I think that had already been agreed, hadn't it?
Well,
There is already a
there is staff
member
members
attached.
already, yeah, but it was just really, I guess, formalising that,
Right.
kind of doing that. Yeah, so I guess if the reserve doesn't assist in speeding up these projects, then it goes into the pile of all the other priorities. So that's why we're thinking if you want to use your reserve, then that can fast track some of these projects. Otherwise, because it's
so give me an example here for the Wānaka Performing Arts Centre.
Yeah.
How the asset reserve would help speed that up.
oh, that one particularly. Maybe
Okay,
not.
it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through
We can recommend to council that is.
and I think we will continue to do that.
Yeah.
If we talk about the full-size artificial turf, no current budget, 700 capex and 100k opex to start planning in 26-27. Where did the where does the asset reserve play a role in?
You could pay for the capex. You could contribute the 700 to the capex.
To do 700 capex to do what?
So that'd be the design with concept planning.
Personally, I know what happens in this place with design, and you can fund the design, but then the rest of it may not be funded and you've just lost your contribution. Personally, I feel like this fund needs to be after design, we contribute to when it actually gets done. Otherwise, a lot of this money could just be frittered away in design and things not actually get built, or they take so long to build that you have to redesign, or
I agree, but then you don't get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, this aren't specific these things, but yeah, because any major capex project requires the planning. I guess that
we need to have a think about capping the amount that goes into design and making sure it happens.
So the way I've laid out the report next week is you're recommending to council that the following projects are funded from your reserve, or recommending, there's another recommendation which is recommend to council the following projects are funded through the annual plan through the existing rating mechanisms. So
yeah,
so you could have it as one of those projects that need to be funded via rates, and at a later date when you have the full design.
there are 4 councillors around the table who will be sitting there making decisions on.
You said, and we're now getting into that sort of thing that should the asset reserve be used to do the design work for the turf?
No, I think, yeah, it was always tried, the intention was for the capital to deliver on community infrastructure rather than the cost of design.
I'm not quite sure why we needed ahead of project design process for an artificial turf. You go, well, we want to deliver this project and you deliver it. You don't design it.
You don't design it and then wait.
You know, the design is part of the delivery process.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've had this with other projects. Is there's overhead costs associated with project delivery that are designed and project managed, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why there's this. You would even separate it out. You just decide to do it and you deliver it.
You would spend a lot of money designing a house that you can build. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The cost of designing a house is part of the project cost. So it's sort of meaningless to separate them out.
Except
It's
that
different for something like the Performing Arts Centre because the scale, the size, the scope, and everything is determined by the feasibility. This is not. The size and shape of it is determined by how big a football field needs to be.
Yeah.
And the delivery of it is determined by, you know, how much it costs and how long it would put in the ground and whether you need to prepare the ground differently.
the question was probably around, do we put money in the annual plan for doing the design so that then we can put the funding into the LTP? But the point is, I think that we know what it's going to cost. We've done it turf before.
We just need a total project estimate, and we can then consider whether we contribute to the total cost of delivery.
So Simon has put that as $3.5 to $4 million.
Well, then we need to decide whether we're prepared to contribute a component towards that to help bring it forward. Yeah, what that's used on out of the $3 to $4 million is sort of irrelevant because it's part of the total project cost.
Could that second option in your paper, one is that we could commit the asset funds to all the prep work, or that we request council fund it, and could that second one be amended to we request council to fund it and the asset fund will support the capital project once that work has been done? So that gives the council incentive to actually do that work, knowing that we will then help support it afterwards, rather than it being, well, we want council to do it. Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. There's something for us to fund.
Yeah, you've got to also remember that the asset fund isn't going to invest the full 3.5 to 4 million. It's going to have to go out to other funders, and they're going to need some sense of concept and, you know, a business case around that, I suppose. Kathy, you've got a view on how funders what they might need to see in order to join with council on a project like this?
I think major funding partners would be alongside the organisers for any of these sorts of projects anyway. The scale of an actual feasibility plan is not as much the determining factor as the just basic knowledge of what's happening in the relationship between the entities.
So we don't have to over-engineer this piece as well. Okay, so you're sort of getting. Have you got
For
enough?
something like this.
Yeah.
So would you sort of say that you'd have percentage of the CapEx project? Or indicate
I don't know if this
plan
is
to invest?
relevant, but I know that with Councillor Wong and the Community and Environment Committee, we're like, if we could do one thing in this term, it's to find a structured pathway to co-fund things like community infrastructure. And this feels like a great example in referencing so the co-funding. So I guess there's an intent or a direction to highlight this as could be an example where it collates things, but I don't know from your point of view how that is either difficult and possible, or if there isn't a process to follow. Just as a question. So now council has to fund everything to 110% its own policy. Yes. Sorry.
We've brought the scope out a little bit there.
Yeah.
We're going to have to narrow it back in. You could put in the paper that we would fund a third of the capital costs for that, and we don't have to make that decision now. And there was mixed views around the table, but once we see it written down, we will have to make that call in the meeting. But I think the intention was always a third, and that's what we should go with. We'll see what councillor committee board sentiment is that time. I am conscious of time. The Wānaka Lakefoot, the stage 4 pathway, this is important to us, and I don't have to go on the reasons why, but we would like that to be funded. Through normal. Yeah. Stage 4 pathway, the second one down there, 580k could be brought forward from 2031 to 2032. That particular one there. There is this, because what we will end up otherwise from this annual plan is having a whole lot of concepts and feasibilities and stuff like that, and actually nothing being invested. We've already done the concept for that. It's been well discussed. It's been probably 2 years in the making so far. I see this as probably the one thing that will actually result in something tangibly for the community. What do you see, Nicola?
Agreed.
Thank you.
The comment in the paper says that the estimated preliminary design is 1 million, including a 20% contingency.
Yes. Yeah.
Have we not done the design?
Yeah, we have. It's
About the 580k could be brought forward from 2031 to 2010.
That's relating to the lakefront development plan, stage 4, which is slightly different, from my understanding.
Now what we're talking about?
the same thing.
That the whole that was the whole of the plan though. We're just talking about the part, aren't we?
Yeah, but
Just a
I've got it in 2 different projects. One is a stage 4 pathway and one is a lakefront development plan, stage 4.
so maybe we need to.
maybe we just need to get something done. That needs to be funded somehow. No, it's not. We have finished talking about reserves. So the only things that the reserves are going to fund is the jetty, the Performing Arts Centre,
So the
and
jetty, the 100% of the capital.
Most renewals.
less renewals. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I think that by keeping that jetty for another year, you've blown the personally.
A third of the turf capital.
Third of the turf.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are the 3 things with asset reserve. Everything else we didn't feel fell within the principles and guidelines for the asset reserve. Not because we didn't want to do them, but we.
The final project. The thinking.
Correct. The feasibility and the staff allocation stays with rates. When we get into, we have indicated that when that feasibility is done, costed, that the community board is supportive in principle of helping to pay for the capital cost.
And have you got like a percentage in mind of that or?
No,
We've no idea what that might be.
Well,
Total
yeah. It's got to be meaningful. Okay, so but that's okay because the fund is still sitting there. It's not going away. But we have signalled that it will be something that will be funded.
Then do I just assume all the other projects you still want them to?
Yep. Yes.
Go forward.
Absolutely, not from the asset reserve. So that is the lakefront development plan. So this is the stage 4. Yes, that pathway needs to be built.
Noting that all those costs will be added to the annual plan.
Yep.
Wait, did we say that we wanted the Lower Howard Street?
Well, hang on. I'm just going to go through. So stage 4, yes. The lakefront development plan for stage 6 is, we would like that to be done, but that is slow touch. I think we're even getting a paper from Brianna. I'm wondering whether most of that's actually been done by now. So I'm just wondering how much would actually fall within the next annual plan. So
I was going to say there's only potentially 2 of those projects that even fall in the annual plan cycle anyway. The rest will be rolled out to the LTP at various stages.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we're not saying that we're aware of the rating impact. We've offset the rating impact on the jetty by funding it through the reserves asset funds. We're utilising an existing budget brought forward for the pathway, and they're probably the only 2 things that could affect the annual plan. Is that correct?
well, how about some planning around Lower Howard Street?
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, is that going to happen in the next 12 months? Yes, you're wanting that to.
Well, I think we wanting because otherwise another 12 months and then that's the last third of our term. So
we're asking then, is there an existing budget that would inform that?
no, there's no current budget here. 500k could be added to annual plan 26-27 to start the planning.
Okay, so we would
What's
then need to
Rating impact.
ask Catherine what the rating impact would be and where does that come from? It's district wide rated because it's a community services.
No, Upper Clutha Ward.
Why would that be up? Yeah, Barb Roading. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right. So we would need to make a call there.
And how widely is it spread? Is it, as we did streetscapes, does it fall on the local business owners largely?
The Upper Clutha Ward.
Transport board, but yeah, we haven't got a targeted rate mechanism, and we're not proposing one, so it could only fall under the transport. We could look at that differently through the LTP if we want a targeted rate, but you can't do it.
Yeah, that's true. You can't do it now. So yeah, rating impact really important.
Is it something that you would bring to the board meeting?
Yep. Just in general, $2 million worth of spend equals 1%, but that's spread across all
Right,
ratepayers.
it's not relevant, so
So
just
it's
the
not
upper Clutha piece.
Do half of it. So yeah, $1 million is going to be 1%. Yeah.
But it's not half, but it's about a third of the. Well, it's about 38%.
Okay, we're going to split. You have to come back with that. I understand we need to get sort of specifics around that. I know what Nicky, and fair enough, we have to say what is the value we will be getting for that, but we've got incomplete information at the moment. If at the board meeting we have got complete information, we'll be able to make that decision. Talked about the turf, the shared path network. We've got their staff will be allocated here for the next NLTP round to ensure Wānaka projects are ready for NCT funding if that becomes available. Otherwise, projects can proceed unsubsidised. So we aren't actually asking for money for delivery, but we are asking for resources to be putting into scoping and planning some of those shared path network and safety improvement projects.
Taking staff could be allocated. So
Yes.
it's kind of the same as the Wānaka Arts. Yeah.
Yes, it is, because there's the one difference is that there's already money in the LTP for these projects, but we would have to, under the LTP, bring them forward. I think they're more likely to be brought forward if we've actually had staff.
We might put another recommendation around.
There's a long history of funding becoming available and us not having the projects ready to go. We've been banging on about this for the last 10 years about having projects ready to go so that when funding is available to us from outside sources, we can actually utilise it.
The last thing there is the Timmersfield Community Park. Where did we decide that Cody is there anything in the annual plan that's going to push forward with the
Timing wise, I think that's not going to be in the same.
Yeah.
And it won't be to fund any design if that design hasn't done.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're there. It's only project live, but it seems like there's other concerns with that project.
Yeah.
To be addressed first.
So that's probably one that can be pushed towards. Okay. I'm conscious of time, Catherine. I'm also conscious this has been quite complex. I'm wondering whether you or Alison would like to write up some of your understandings from this and then circulate it back round, so that there will probably be some nuance in there and we can circulate it to the board and just
finalise this draft report.
Yeah.
And send it to you and give me feedback before we put it on the agenda.
I think that would be important, because I think we're probably 80% of the way, but the 20% will be just saying, hang on, still like that.
And I just around the funding for the art centre, because funding might be subject to what is delivered out of that for the community. So I'm interested in how the community board might be involved in working with the staff member. Could we have a presentation to come? I guess my concern from the discussion we've had previously is that we don't send the message that we're happy to fund just anything, that it's will be dependent on what is designed and what is delivered through that project potentially.
And we keep it say in principle, like we do have Chris, who is our conduit between the community board and the trust. And we need to be kept, fully abreast there. It's still at some infancy. I think, there's some in principle we would support. In principle, we support a performing arts centre. That is different from saying we are going to allocate X million dollars from the asset reserve into that, because there is just too many unknowns.
But a possibility would be, if the land is identified, if we need to secure the land, we could potentially.
Well, again, I don't think the land in its own right. I think there is still that operating model, and I keep saying that because we don't want to invest in something that ends up being.
But land is an asset we hold potentially increase. So it'll be a way of potentially protecting the value of the asset fund.
Maybe. I'm not sure what the reserve says about investing in land. I might like to look at that. So let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Catherine and Alison, I'm just about to close because we've got a public session now. Thank you to anything else. So we'll just wait to have that back. You interpret that, we'll check it, and then we'll pick this up again at the board meeting next week. Thank you very much for your involvement. Thank you. Cheers, team. Let's just have a quick break, and then we'll start actually with us in about 5 minutes, if that's cool.
Just briefly, I have the